Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well today. So, we are back with some more Fruit of Grisaia, if that was not obvious. I don't know, might not be. Maybe it's all a lie. Am I actually playing Fruit of Grisaia, or am I just talking about fruit? I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway. Yeah, we are continuing on with the game through Amane's route, still in the flashback. Just kind of a brief summary for what happened last time, for anyone that's just joining in. We're just kind of trying to survive. It was day 2 after that bus crash. So Amane and the group are still trying to figure out what the hell to do, really. Ways to be seen or get in contact with anyone on the outside to come and rescue them. Thanks to some wonderful little hints from Kazuki, because she doesn't feel like actually saying it outright, Amane gets the idea of maybe we can use the bus, like the horn, to, just kind of get someone's attention. But because the bus was in a crash and is on its side, there's probably not that much juice in it, so they want to save that for when they absolutely need to. Then her and Kazuki just kind of had discussions of why did you propose everyone break off into like pairs of 2 instead of having everyone work together? And Kazuki basically says by doing it that way, it's going to prevent people from wanting to slack off more than if they did it in a big group, using like ants as an example. The logic being that in a large group like that, there'll be some that'll be super dedicated to doing stuff, and then some that'll just start doing nothing. So by breaking people off into pairs, if there's only 2 of them, it's gonna like highly prevent one person from wanting to slack off, and it also kind of instigates a bit of a competition between groups to keep going at it. So everyone's kind of coming up with these ideas on how to get seen, testing these theories. And really, that's just supposed to, with everyone giving out any kind of random idea, it's supposed to get everyone's minds going to really kind of take little bits and pieces of this plan here, and come up with one that could actually work. A helicopter did come by. They tried to signal it, but it didn't see them. At least they don't think it saw them. But it could have. So there's a little bit of hope in them right now that maybe it saw them, and it looked like a private one, like probably owned by the military. So where they are was probably on their patrol route. So chances are high it'll come by again, and then hopefully at that time they'll have a better way to signal it, because they tried throwing rocks, honking the horn, everything to no avail. And unfortunately, the battery died on the bus finally, as they were honking the horn. It just died out on them, so honking the horn is no longer an option. But that was on day 2. We left off at the start of day 3. How long they are going to be here, I do not know. From what people are saying, it's gonna be a while. Strap in, folks. I'm just gonna kind of try to get through as much of this as I can. I'll try to go a little longer with the Grisaia streams right now, because this seems like it's gonna take a long while. Amane's route is apparently the longest of the routes. So that's, yeah. The other two I was able to do fairly quick, I guess, but this one will take a bit more.
Good morning, motherfuckers!
Morning, Nick. How's it going, buddy? Haven't heard that one in a little while. third day in the valley. When society slumps into an economic recession, it seems high-achieving graduates from elite universities often have an even harder time finding employment than their less brilliant peers. Doing fine? Ah, that's good, that's good. Glad you're doing fine. Normally, you'd think businesses facing difficult times would want skilled new employees to help them turn things around, but when a company's focused entirely on treading water and protecting the status quo, providing good positions for intelligent and ambitious new hires can be very difficult. And if you're just going to be wasting hotshot talent on trivial chores, might as well just hire cheaper, less skilled workers to start off with. Or so the thinking goes. As for why I'm bringing this up all of a sudden, it recently occurred to me that Kazumi Kazuki's situation within our team is something like that of an elite graduate in a recession. She has exceptional, even unique skills. In terms of raw ability, she's in a different league from Captain Sakashita. But since her rank is freshman, the very bottom of the totem pole, that talent puts her in an awkward position. Everyone recognizes and respects Kazuki's intelligence, but that doesn't mean they're ready to overturn our familiar system of authority. Mainly because nobody knows where they'd stand in the new pecking order. Kazuki told me that pride isn't inherently a bad thing. The way she sees it, a moderate sense of self-respect can be a balm for the soul. But still, an overdose of medicine is just another way of poisoning yourself.
Amane? どこにいるの? Amane? こっちだよ、カズキ。あ、いたいた。あなた、また日記をつけていたの?
Oh, so she was actually writing this journal as it was happening. Damn.
なんていうか、癖で暇な時に思いついたことを書き殴ってるだけなんだけどね。
As again, for context for anyone coming in, this is the main character of the game, Yuji, reading through one of Amane's journals after he kind of found out a little tidbit of her past, and she didn't want to hide anything from him. It's like, here, just read this, kind of thing. So he's reading it, and this is all this is like all Amane flashback.
いいことよ。こんな状況だからこそ、そういった日常の行動が心を安定させるし、日記をつけることで現状を深く理解して客観的かつ冷静な判断力を得るという意味ではとても有効だと思うわ。
Okay, Kazuki approves of the diary entries.
いや、そこまで考えて書いてたわけじゃないけどね。日記ってそういうものよ。私もよく書くもの。
Oh, okay.
カズキも？ええ。紙に書くことはしないけれど。
You do an electronic journal?
どういうこと?
Or do you have one in your head, along with that vast, eidetic memory library of books you have not read, but only looked through so you can memorize the pages and then read at your own leisure? Yeah, that's a thing. I forgot about that until now.
脳に書き込んでいるのよ。
Yeah, I knew it. She's got her own fucking writing desk in her brain.
それって頭の中身を頭に記してることにならない？通常記憶用の脳みそと日記用の脳みそを使い分けているのよ。私、脳みそが5、6個あるってお医者様に言われたことがあるの。
Okay, that sounds like a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry.
本当に？
That's a bunch of bullshit.
もちろん冗談よ。
Okay. I got like 5 brains up here. 4 of them don't work. The other one's on its way out, actually. As always, Kazuki's attempt at a joke wasn't amusing in the slightest. The idea of her having half a dozen brains stashed away somewhere like a biological supercomputer felt far too plausible. I felt more like shuddering than laughing.
で、私に何か用事？うん、そうだった。ちょっと毒ダミの葉を摘んできてもらえないかしら。
Okay, this is something I hadn't really brought up yet, but it's been bugging me the entire time we've done this flashback and also other flashbacks. Every time I hit enter to go to the next line, like a voice line and not narration, the whole screen flashes, like this darkened overlay with the words goes away for a second, then comes back, and then the words start showing up. It's like, why? I'm sorry, that's... Ugh. That just doesn't feel right. I really don't... It's actually been kind of bugging me. Like just every second. Alright, talking. Next line. Talking. That gets annoying. Like, really fast. I also turn my light off. I don't know why they went with that choice, or if it's some kind of limitation with the, engine. I'm gonna assume this was made in Ren'Py. Possibly. A lot of visual novels are made in that engine. Good engine. You do a lot of stuff with it. Ren'Py? I don't know how it's called. I don't know how you say it proper. Nose.
毒ダミってあの臭いやつ？そう。沢の近くに
Okay, now that I mention it, it doesn't do it.
あれを積んできてほしいの。
Oh.
まさかあれ食べるの？
Okay, now I know why it's doing it. Every time the character model changes and does something, that it flashes to the model changing and then comes back to this. That's annoying.
食べられないわけじゃないけど、今回は薬に使うわ。
And guess what, guys? Now that I've said it, you're never gonna not notice it anymore. If you didn't notice it before, you're gonna notice it now and forever. You're not gonna be able to put that out of your mind. I apologize for nothing. かゆみ止め。薬のストックが乏しくなってきているから、代用の効くものは代用します。できればよもぎなんかもあると嬉しいけれど。 Yeah, that's right. They only had like a small first aid kit to work with right now, and that's not gonna last them. Especially with two people in pretty rough condition.
よもぎって草餅に練り込むあれのこと？どんな草なの？見たことないの？どこにでも自生しているのに。ああ、これでも私都会っ子だし、草餅は作ったことあるけど、業務用のペーストを使ってたから。仕方がないわね。
Kazuki pursed her lips and glanced around the area. Her gaze settled on Koide Ritsu, who was sitting idly on top of a rock nearby, apparently not quite sure what to do with herself.
小出さん、私、彼女と草摘みに行こうと思うのだけれど、大テントで広岡さんと桜井さんに付き添っていてもらえませんか？はい。でも汗を拭いたり水を飲ませてあげる程度ですから、何も面倒はないと思います。お願いできますか？すぐに戻りますから。わかったわ。さて、それじゃあ行きましょうか。いいの？何が？だって小出さんは。
She was Captain Sakashida's partner. If our leader were to find out Kazuki had been ordering her friend around, I had the feeling things might get ugly again.
いいんじゃない？彼女、することもなくて暇そうだったし。 こんな状況だし、することがないとサボっているようで気まずいでしょうしね。そっか。
Our supply of food was limited and shrinking. Under the circumstances, idle hands could be seen as a drain on our resources. The sick and injured had no choice, but for those of us still healthy, there wasn't much excuse for being anything less than proactive. Koide-senpai's partner, Captain Sakashida, was currently off investigating the area with Mr. Ochi. Why hadn't they taken Koide along on their survey? Did they simply decide she would have slowed them down? I couldn't think of any other reason they would have just ditched her here.
ねえ、和樹はどう思う？そうね。ただ単に小出さんのことが気に入らないんじゃないかしら。どうして？ここに来た初日に怪我人の治療をするために私は小出さんにお湯を沸かしてくださいってお願いしたでしょ？うん。それで小出さんは部長の許可をもらわずにペットボトルのミネラルウォーターを勝手に使ってしまったの。そのことで部長が怒ったら小出さんはだって風見さんがやれって言ったからと答えちゃったのね。
Okay. The captain's petty.
ああ、つまり部長より和樹の言葉を優先したのが気に入らないと。そういうこと。何の疑問もなく私の命令に従ってしまった小出さんは部長の中ではもう私の審判として認識されているのかもしれないわね。
The captain's petty in this survival situation. Yeah, that's not gonna go well.
そんな、この非常時にそんなこと。言ってる場合じゃないのは部長も分かっているとは思うけれど、仕方がないわよ。女の子ってそういうものでしょ。まあね。
Female friendships tend to be power-based. Specifically, when girls choose their friends, they pick someone they think of as an inferior.
If there are any girls in chat, women, whoever would like to confirm or deny this, I would gladly hear it. I almost feel like this is not the case. I would hope it's not the case. Can't say for sure because I am not a girl.
A girl inferior in academics. A girl inferior in appearance. A girl inferior at sports. Anything will do. As long as there is a clear inferior in some respect, we can graciously and confidently allow them to become our friend.
Okay, using that logic, Kazuki is only Amane's friend because she's inferior in like every fucking aspect compared to her. You're about to bring that up, aren't you?
せっかくお友達になってあげたのに、私よりその子がいいなら、その子とお友達になればいいじゃないって、そんな感じなんじゃないかしら。でも、それを言ったら他の子たちは？なんだかんだ言っても、結局みんな和樹の言うことを聞いてるじゃない。私の言うことを聞いているというのとは少し違うんじゃないかしら。何か行動を起こそうというときは、言い出した人間が責任者になるわけだし、現状を維持しようという保留案を提示した私に成り行きで同意しているだけじゃない？
Okay.
そうかな。やっぱりみんな和樹のこと天才だって思ってるし、従っていれば間違いないって思ってるんじゃ。だから人に天才だって言われるのは嫌なんだってば。私を羨ましいなんて思わないことね。 天才になんかなったところで得られるのは賞賛じゃなくて敵意と嫉妬だけよ。
Yeah, I can see that. You are something or have something other people want. Yeah, you get a lot of envy from that.
そういうもの？
Everyone always likes to try to knock the top dog down in some respect. Just to get that little bit of humiliation out of them and feel superior. Yeah. I mean, you see it all the time.
ええ、そう。私に友達がいなかった理由はそれよ。あなたが我慢強い子で助かるわ、アマネ。どういたしまして。というか、カズキ本当に友達いなかったんだ。
Guess you could say her only friend is her brother before Amane.
Well, she definitely didn't have the most outgoing personality. I couldn't picture her going out and trying to make a friend. I'd spent most of 3 days glued to her by now, but if not for that accident, it was hard to imagine we would have ever gotten to know each other like this.
そのとっつきの悪さと遠慮知らない口ぶりと人を小バカにしたような態度を直せば友達できると思うよ。
Feeling like I'm hearing coughing. Whatever.
それは私に別人になれと言っているようなものじゃないかしら。まあ、そうなるかな。今さら私の性格が変わったら、むしろみんな気持ち悪いって言うんじゃないかしら。寂しくないの？今はあなたがいるし、それに弟がいるから、それほど寂しいとは思わないわね。
There we go, mentioning the brother, mentioning Yuji.
カズキ、弟なんているの？ええ、いるわよ。やっぱりあれ、カズキに似てるの？似ているかと聞かれれば、あまり似ていないわね。あの子は私と違って母親にだから。そうね。優しいだけが取り柄みたいなところがあって、可愛らしい子よ。
Kind is one of the last things I would list as Yuji being. I mean, he is kind, but he's also a fucking asshole. A really jaded asshole.
やっぱりその子も頭いいの？どうかしら。バカではないとは思うけれど、変に生真面目で不器用だし、私の弟って時点でどうしても比較されてしまうし。
Compared against him?
ちょっと頑張った程度じゃ誰も認めてはくれないのよね。そのことでは随分と悩んでいるみたい。
Yeah, that's true. In all the routes he keeps, anytime he brings his sister up, it's always about how she was a genius and he was useless. That would definitely kill the... Self-confidence? Oh my god, I'm trying to charge my phone, but the only plug is literally on the wall, like a good... 2 feet away from the end of the desk. You know how awkward that is? If I'm sitting here trying to charge my phone and people like message me, it's like trying to reach for it and unplug it. I should probably maybe put that into the power bar I have under the desk, but then my phone's gonna be under the desk, and if I want to answer it, I'd have to awkwardly go, It isn't nearly as convenient as my old room, but still. This is still much better in overall, like 100%.
Not surprising, I guess. Kazuki would be one incredibly hard act to follow. Everyone would naturally be expecting great things of her brother. Held up against the standard of his elder sister, the best achievements of a normal person would seem commonplace. At most, you could hope for a tepid, just what I'd expect from Kazuki's brother. But any minor mistake would get you a disappointed look that might as well be saying, "Are you really related to that genius?" I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sympathy.
なんかちょっとかわいそうかも。同情はやめてあげて。あの子がますます惨めな思いをするから。あ、うん、ごめん。確かにあの子に失望する声も多いし、それは両親ですら例外じゃない。でも私はあの子がとても大事だし、あの子をとても愛しているわ。
Yeah, at least he had someone in his corner.
それでいいのよ。たとえ世界中があの子を嫌っても、私が誰よりもあの子を愛している事実は変わらないのだから。
Okay, she's a good sister.
偏ってるな。相手は弟なんでしょ？そうかしら。まあ確かに変質している自覚はあるけれど、弟に甘い姉というのも別に珍しくはないでしょ？甘い？和樹が甘い？
I'd always viewed Kazumi Kazuki as something like a walking beaker of acid in a school uniform. Sweet struck me as the single least appropriate adjective you could possibly apply to her.
そんなに驚くようなこと？弟なんだから可愛がるのは当たり前でしょ？これでも一応優しいお姉ちゃんのつもりなのだけれど。似合わない！全然似合わない！びっくりするぐらい似合わない！
Kazuki. The girl who'd probably take one look at the classic abandoned puppy in a cardboard box on a rainy day, tell it, "Fate is cruel, I guess you curse the heavens," and then walk right off without batting an eyelid. Kazuki, of all people, a doting big sister? I impulsively pull my cell phone out of my pocket and check the date.
あれ？今日は4月1日じゃないよね。
Oh my god.
あなた、失礼にも程があるわよ。私だって人間だもの。弟を可愛がりもするし、弟が落ち込んでいれば不器用ながらも慰めようと試みることぐらいはするわ。
Kazuki was such a dry-eyed, tough-minded person that I guess I figured she was above any form of deep emotional attachment. To be honest, I could easily imagine her looking down on her newborn brother in the hospital incubator, muttering something like, "What do you think you're doing? I don't recall giving you permission to be born. You've thrown my plans off, whelp."
あなた、今とんでもなく失礼なことを考えていない？
Okay, come on. Kazuki's gotta have some like kind of mind-reading powers at this point. Like, Jesus Christ.
ないないないない。
When Kazuki fixed those inky blank eyes on me, it felt as though she was glaring right through my skull and into my thoughts. Flustered, I shook my head in denial.
ねえ、弟さんってそんなに可愛いの？
One second. Sorry about that. We're all good? Yeah, we're all good. Nothing turned off. Perfect. Where are we? There we are.
そうね。思わずキスしたくなるぐらい可愛いわ。
Oh, great. So is that where Amane kind of gets the... Okay, I think she literally gets the doting big sister thing because of Kazuki. Great.
へえ。
Hearing all this was getting me a little interested in seeing him for myself.
実際何度かキスをしたけれど、何度しても飽きないわね。え？
Given into temptation? Kissing her brother? On the cheek or something, right? I didn't have any brothers, so I didn't quite get it, but maybe that wasn't too out of the ordinary for a close pair of siblings.
I'll try some other visual novels or whatnot, and I definitely go that route.
本当に可愛いわ。
Somehow, the smile on Kazuki's face didn't seem particularly innocent.
ちょ、
Even for a close pair of siblings. No, especially for a close pair of siblings. Wasn't that a little abnormal? Just what was this girl doing to her brother?
どうかした？あなた、顔が赤いわよ。あのさ、今ここで私が道徳を解き始めたら、あなた笑う？
Oh my god.
内容によるわね。
Kazuki's way of showing her affection for her sibling was clearly wrong. I never expected to be explaining a fundamental mistake like this to her, of all people. When I gently prodded her for more information, I soon discovered she was still taking baths with her brother. While Kazuki's body wasn't exactly well developed, she did have curves in the right places. God damn it. Bathing with your brother at that age is more than a little dicey, right? Even at the best of times, oh my god, am I actually gonna be fucking reading this right now? Alright, I am. The love between a brother and a sister is built on a fairly precarious balance. And Little Miss Genius here had definitely taken things well beyond the tipping point. Skirting around the larger issue, I gingerly pushed the conversation along by hinting that the bats really needed to stop. Prompting her to inquire, is sleeping together at night also off limits? In a slightly dejected tone of voice. And when I went soft, mumbling something about maybe every once in a while, she fired off a cheerful, "And it's okay to give him specific lessons on the birds and the bees, right?" Hey, mind if I ask you something? To be honest, I feel a little silly asking this question like this to the infamous prodigy Kazumi Kazuki, but I just can't help myself. I'm burning with curiosity. Here goes. Hey, might you be completely out of your mind? Okay, look. This is the only way of life I know really isn't helping me deal with this, you know? Can you cut a girl a break here?
というか、今まで誰も注意しなかったの？例えばほら、母親とかさ。
Oh my god.
そういえば子供の頃にお外ではしないようにねってそう言われた
Oh,
よう
for
な気が
fuck's
するわ。
sakes.
家の中でなら OK なのかよ。
It sounds like their mother made some mistakes here as well. Some pretty fundamental ones, actually. It wasn't hard to imagine Kazuki's home must have been an unusual place, since it was the environment that produced a super genius. But this freakish lack of common sense was well beyond my expectations.
とにかく間違ってるから、このままじゃ和樹の弟絶対にろくな大人にならないよ。
You got that fucking right. You seen this asshole?
そう？これでも結構真面目に育てているつもりなのだけれど。どの辺が？
Oh my god.
ありがとうって上手に言える子に育てているの。
Okay.
どういう意味？言葉の通りよ。素直に人に感謝することができるって素晴らしいと思わない？
My teacup's empty.
そりゃまあ。
I say teacup, but it's a fucking mug. I'm gonna need to get a giant cup of tea at this point. Like, I'll need to fill like an actual like giant water barrel full of tea and sip on that. That's what it's getting to the point of. Jesus Christ, what is going on? Is that right? Is that right?
So そう例えばあなたの口癖のごめんなさいだけど人に迷惑をかけた時素直に謝罪できるのって素晴らしいことよ。そうかな。
I wasn't trying to make it my catchphrase, but I was taught from a young age that if you think you did something bad, apologize first and make excuses later. It was a major pillar of the vinegary education and manners I received from my mom.
それと同じことよ。人に感謝することができる人間はできない人間よりも幸せな人生を歩めると思わない？確かに。
It may be a subtle difference, as often as not. But if you can remember to show your gratitude in small ways, never taking the goodwill of others for granted, your life will probably end up ever so slightly the richer for it.
あれ、和樹あんた、今ちょっといいこと言った？あなた本当に失礼ね。私はいつだっていいことしか言わないでしょ。それこそ私の言葉をまとめれば風見和樹名言集として税込み1890円で売れるぐらいよ。
I'm not paying $20 for that. I'm sorry, no. Okay, random tangent here. Something I love about Japan when I was there. All the prices you see on all the products and shit you're buying, that's just what you're paying. The tax is already included on the sticker price. And it's never anything, it's usually never anything stupid unless it's something really small. So, having a book priced at about $20, like, yeah, just give me $20. That's your price, that's what you're paying. So you could actually properly budget and figure out, it's like, okay, this costs exactly this much. You don't have to try to figure out tax and whatnot, which is an annoying thing here in Canada and also the United States. Which I think both of us from those countries can agree. It is kind of annoying for the price the sticker on there could say something like, oh, it only costs like $7.99. And then you gotta factor tax in, and guess what? Sometimes you kind of forget how much the tax is and how much that would actually be. And the more shit you get, the more tax gets added onto that. Taxes around here is about 13%. So if something is $7.99, I'm actually gonna do the quick math right now with a calculator. So something worth $7.99 would be about, rounding to the nearest nickel, be about $9. But if you were to get something that was, say, oh, I don't know, $271.99. Do the 13% tax on that. Alright, that'll be $307.35, please. Yeah, groceries can add up when you have shit like that, because everyone forgets the tax. Not everyone can automatically figure out in their heads, okay, what is 13% of this, and then add all their shit, get all their shit in the cart, and then think, wait, how much is that again? How much was that? Until you get to the counter, and then it's scanned all in, and it's like, alright, sign here for the loan on your grocery basket here. Because it costs a lot more than you think. That's why I like the prices in Japan, because what you see on the sticker is what you're paying. You can actually figure that out immediately. It's wonderful. Especially in an all-cash, like a mostly cash society like them. You can just straight up pull out exactly how much you have, like need, put it in your wallet or whatever, go, spend that, and come back without having any extra or having to worry, maybe I'll need a little more kind of thing. The price is the price. That's it. There's no guessing on tax or anything, or if they decide to add some kind of stupid fee onto it, too. It's great. Like, absolutely great. So yeah, side tangent over.
何その微妙にリアルな値段設定。
What publisher would make a hardcover edition of that anyway? I could just picture it. Chapter 1. Taking a bath with your little brother is not a crime. Maybe the better question is, what's the target audience for a book written by a woman who sexually harasses her own little brother? The Siscons?
お風呂か。そういえば。
It had already been 3 days since the last time I washed myself. 3 days I'd spent in a humid ravine wearing the same unwashed school uniform.
Oh yeah, everyone's gonna fucking stink.
I pinched my clothes and brought my fingers to my nose, then quickly jerked my head away at the raw, sharp body odor they carried.
Tokyo's bestseller. Well, let Tokyo do what they gonna do.
くさ。ねえ、和樹、私匂わない？
Yeah, here's a good hint for you guys. If you can smell your own BO, if you can smell it, everyone can smell it. If, like, you can smell your own sweat and crap, it's even worse for everyone else. Because guess what? You're kind of... Your nose is more or less attuned to, you know, block out your own smell. But if it's bad enough that you can smell yourself, oh, fuck. You need to jump into a bath immediately. And a Axe body spray shower does not count. That's only good for a pinch. Like, just to kind of like a temporary thing, just to get you through maybe the day. Or at least a few hours till you can get into a proper bath. It is not a replacement for one. Because if you replace your actual showers and baths with just spraying body spray, y'all are nasty.
人は生きていれば代謝を続けるものだし、それに今は臭い切れというか、毒ダミの苦い匂いしかしないけど。やだな。お風呂に入りたい。沢が見つかって水は潤沢なのだし、水浴びをしたら？佐久間さんなんか沢が見つかってすぐに私のところへ水浴びの可否を聞きに来たわよ。いいの？むしろ衛生面に気を配らないと皮膚病になる可能性もあるし。その辺の事情を含めて部長にはすでに許可を取り付けてあるから何も問題はないわ。私も何度か水浴びしてみたけれど気持ちいいわよ。
Okay, Kazuki has bathed a few times, but neglected to tell Amane this.
言ってよ。つか誘いなさいよ。私たちペアでしょ。だって私、あなたの隣で裸になるの嫌だわ。高級スポーツカーの隣に駐車された軽自動車の惨め、あなたは想像できる？
Oh my god.
なんで車で例える？その方があなたには分かりやすいかと思って。
I mean, what's the problem with mini cars? I love them for your information.
Yeah, all sizes. Okay.
They're cheap and easy to maintain for one thing. But more importantly, they're incredibly light. And a wise man once said, when it comes to turning, nothing beats a low-weight car, you know?
和樹って時々姿が見えなくなると思っていたけど、私に隠れて水浴びなんかしてたのね。別に隠れていたわけではないけれど、まあいいわ。薬草を積み終わったらあなたも水浴びに行ってきたら？そうさせてもらう。
That sounded fantastic, but we had other priorities. While picking the mugwort and chameleon plants we planned to use for medicinal purposes, Kazuki and I took the opportunity to search for vegetation that looked edible. It was the third day of our imprisonment in this ravine. Perhaps in the very beginning, we'd assumed the vibrant mass of nature that trapped us here would also provide us with a steady supply of wild vegetables. But that optimism evaporated the moment we actually began to explore the jungle. True, carefully surveying the woods turned up something in the way of edible-looking vegetation, but the vast majority were fern sprouts, honeywort, chrysanthemum greens, and other leafy plants. More garnish than main course, none of them could fill the bellies of a group of growing teenagers. I'm gonna have to deal with that later. I'm gonna just do something for my notes. I got like a million notes here. I'm gonna have to sort that out. Okay. As an added bonus, pretty much all of these wild grasses and flowers proved strongly unpalatable. Eaten raw, they were unbelievably bitter, and most gave off a sharp, nasty scent. Even when boiled, the harsh, caustic taste of lye usually remained. Seasoning to disguise the flavor was an absolute necessity. The first of our supplies to vanish was the curry powder. Thanks to its strong smell and powerful taste, it violently drowned out the taste of any individual ingredient. It was our magic pixie dust, transforming anything into a tolerable meal. On the day of the fall, we'd each been distributed 2 tiny single-serving packets of curry powder to last us 3 days. Even combining my share with Kazuki's, our 4 packets didn't amount to much at all. Although Kazuki had entrusted me with all of our precious food supply, she got downright angry when I tried to make curry croquettes using the powder and some potatoes. She was always strictly lecturing me about keeping our portions as small as possible, but any ingredient containing anything in the way of salt was a particular obsession. Her argument: sodium can't be produced inside the human body. Therefore, ingesting it from the outside is absolutely necessary.
確か植物からミネラルを取り出して塩を作る実験をしている中国の大学教授がいたわよね。
We're gonna literally make salt now.
何急にそんないきなりいたわよねとか同意を求められても知らんがな。児童向けの科学雑誌にそんな記事が出ていたのを今ふと思い出したのだけれど、残念なことに大量の素材とそれなりの規模の装置が必要なのよね。
Then why bring it up?
塩がそんなに大切なの？今はまだ体内での調整でごまかしが効いているけど、このまま数日経って飢餓が極まった時、最後に必要になるのは塩だと思うのよ。だから今のうちにできるだけ確保しておきたいの。一応言われた通りに塩は節約してるし、半分は使わないようにして隠してあるけど。それは最後まで隠しておいて。それと塩を隠し持っていることも誰にも言わないで。分かった。そうするけど。
What's the point of having salt if there's no food to put it on? If anything, it seemed like we should be stockpiling stuff that could fill our stomachs, not a condiment. Since the fall, we've been getting by on potatoes, carrots, and the weedy vegetation we picked from the forest. Without any meat or rice in our diet, we were starved for protein and carbohydrates alike. If we had to make a meal out of these scraggly, bitter plants, I'd at least have liked to stir-fry them with a little crumbled bacon, flavored with a generous helping of butter and soy sauce, and steaming white rice on the side. That's right, rice. We still had a supply of that being held in reserve, didn't we? On the second day of our training camp, a heavy rain had cancelled our plans to cook a big curry dinner outdoors. We'd been eating many of the ingredients from that meal. but not the rice it would have been served on. In other words, we have a 5-kilogram sack of perfectly good rice sitting in a tent somewhere. Just when were they planning to distribute that? There was no point in whining about bacon when we didn't have any, but I wanted some rice pretty badly. A nice fluffy bowl on the side would make a main dish of fried weeds seem a lot more tolerable. And if we had some shimeji mushrooms to throw in it, it'd be...
あ、キノコ。はい？ねえ、カズキ、キノコは？キノコなら山の中でも生えてるんじゃない？キノコを探そうよ。
Mushrooms are good, just a lot of them aren't edible. The fact they'll kill you, it's knowing which are the right ones to pick. And I don't even think there's an agreed upon way to figure that out if you don't know. There's no, like... Yeah, there's, like, no actual, little thing. Yep, there we go. They're dangerous.
どうして？カズキなら毒キノコと食べられるキノコ見分けがつくんじゃない？
No, they're very hard to tell apart.
一応知識はあるけれど、キノコは地域によって差もあるし、それに私の知識は本で得たものばかりで経験が伴わない。
Yeah, it's... Mushrooms are a gamble if you do not know what you're looking for.
本で得た知識だけでキノコを食べて食中毒になるケースは今の時代になっても後を絶たないわ。キノコはダメ。私、軸がきれいに縦に裂けるキノコは食べても平気って聞いたことあるよ。それは俗説よ。軸が縦に裂けるキノコでも致命的な毒を持つ種類はたくさんあるわ。悪いことは言わないからキノコは諦めなさい。
Yep, stay away from the mushrooms.
いいアイデアだと思ったんだけどな。誰か嫌な子に食べさせて2、3日様子を見てからみんなで食べるという手もあるけれど。
Oh my god.
さすがにその冗談は笑えないよ。冗談を言った覚えはないわよ。
Oh my gosh, you serious?
Although she smiled lightly, Kazuki's voice wasn't amused in the slightest. She was quite seriously and neutrally informing me of a potential exchange. If we wanted edible mushrooms, we would have to sacrifice someone first. At the moment, we had edible plants, unappetizing as they might be. There was no need to risk death for the sake of a few mushrooms. But if we were to eat up all the shoots and flowers and herbs, where was our next meal going to come from? If we're forced to eat mushrooms, who takes the first bite? A road to survival we couldn't follow yet. A road not all of us could travel. Was Kazuki thinking of something like this when she spoke those words? Yesterday morning, has she already predicted that I would suggest gathering mushrooms? All of a sudden, her steady voice seemed strangely cold. I suppressed the urge to shiver.
誰だって死にたくはないでしょ。ほら、さっさと積んで戻りましょうよ。
With those words, Kazuki bent down and began to pick away the plants we had gathered in the mess kit rice cooker we were using as a makeshift bucket. I want to pick away, put away. Jeez, read, Baron, read. Damn hair. None of us want to die. Those brief, perfectly obvious words sent a cold shock through my body. None of us were hiding our grief or anxiety particularly well anymore. Everyone was nervous. Everyone was scared.
I'm coughing like a madman. Ugh. Ugh.
But I realized something from the spasm of terror I felt in that moment. Somewhere deep inside, we were probably still in denial. We were still optimistically averting our eyes from the cruel reality.
Oh my god, we're on another day? Holy shit. Okay. Alright, cool. If some of the days are short like that, alright, I can take it.
The fourth day in the valley. As expected, another hot one. As early as mid-morning, it felt about 90 degrees out, if not worse. Spending time in the lush, humid jungle under such conditions would drain our energies surprisingly quickly, so we were told to limit our investigations of the area to the early hours of the day, before the temperature reached its peak. Investigating the area might sound nice, but to be perfectly honest, we were just foraging for food. Everyone had long since burned through the 3 days' worth of food distributed to us on the first night. From today on, the system was changing. We'd be getting our daily rations from the captain every morning. And that morning, she handed me a handful of rice, less than a cup's worth. That, and maybe a quarter of an onion. This was to make do for me and Kazuki both. When I tentatively asked if this was supposed to be for one meal, she firmly repeated, "This is for the day." It wouldn't have been enough for anyone, let alone young girls with growing bodies. We were expected to make up the shortfall by heading into the forest and procuring our own. As a result, most of us were forced to devote the majority of our active time to searching the woods for food. Fortunately, my partner Kazumi Kazuki has as small an appetite as her diminutive frame would suggest. And even when all I could offer was a thin gruel of rice and mountain weeds, she ate steadily away without a single complaint. If anything, the problem lay in my direction.
ダメだ。全然食べ足りないよ。アマネは体が大きいから基礎代謝が高い分、動かなくてもエネルギーを消費するものね。
Kazuki glanced over as I sucked regretfully on my gruel-soaked chopsticks, gave a little laugh, and helpfully compared me to an American gas guzzler in human form.
私の食べ残しで悪いけど、食べる？それは和樹の分だよ。
I was honestly all too eager to gobble down any morsel offered to me, leftovers or not. Even so, it would have been a dire mistake to accept Kazuki's kindness. If our pair was a body, I was the hands and feet, while Kazuki was the head. No matter how healthy the limbs may be, they can't move unless the brain's functioning.
いいよ。あとはお茶でも飲んで我慢する。
Of course, our tea was nothing more than hot water flavored with onion skins. Ooh. It wouldn't fill my stomach, to be sure. But from what Kazuki told me, the skins were rich in antioxidants that would reduce the stress on my body, providing something of a detox effect. As I slowly sipped away at the reddish-brown tinted water, I looked around the campsite. Unsurprisingly, many of the others were sitting listlessly on their silver sleeping mats, their arms wrapped around growling stomachs.
ねえ、あれ放っておいていいの？ん？
Clearly, I wasn't the only one longing for something to supplement our inadequate meals. A group of 3 girls sat themselves down in a tight circle, with Sakuma-senpai at their center. They were playing cards with the deck somebody must have brought along, gambling for small snacks and pieces of candy they'd been secretly hoarding. It was a common sight lately.
まあいいんじゃない？みんな楽しそうだし。あなたも混ぜてもらったら？
Kazuki put her hand in her skirt pocket and pulled out a single chocolate bar.
軍資金は私が提供するから、勝ったら分け前は私とあなたで半分ずつ。いい？
That chocolate bar's gotta be melted by now. Like, incredibly melted. Like, it's been how many days now? Okay, 4. It's been 4 days. In summer heat. And she's been keeping that on her person. One, if it's probably been crushed to hell just from the crash itself. Add in the heat and the fact that she's been keeping it on her person the whole time. That thing is a melted mess inside a wrapper. Guaranteed. Who's gonna want melted fucking chocolate? I mean, they're desperate for something. Still, that's... Oof. I'm gonna take this moment to make myself another tea, so I'll be right back, folks. Okay, back. Tea is made, and now I just gotta wait for it to cool down.
でも負けた時はそうね、おやつ抜きってのはどう？もともとおやつとかねえよ。っていうか、どうして和樹がやらないの？私が勝つと面白くないでしょ。それに私は怪我人の世話があるし、今は小出さんが一人で見ているけど、私がいないと不安らしいから。こんな時に遊んでていいのかな。こんな状況だからこそ退屈すると悪い方へ考えが進みやすいし、ガス抜きは必要なのよ。無駄に動いてもお腹が空くだけだしね。それにたかが遊びだなんて思っていてはダメね。私のペアである以上はあなたには敗北は許されないわ。たとえトランプ遊びといえど、不退転の心意気を胸に他人を蹴落としてでも利益を得る覚悟で挑んでちょうだい。不退転。踏み出したら振り返らない。それがルールよ。よくわかんないけど頑張ってみるよ。確実な勝利を期待しているわ。
Having said her piece, Kazuki turned on her dainty heel and walked off confidently.
確実な勝利ね。
But a lot of pressure on Amane to win a card game.
Setting the bar a little high, aren't we? Well, I guess if you had talent like Kazuki's, it might well turn out that way. That seemed like a downright unreasonable expectation to place on an ordinary person like myself. Of course, if I had said as much to Kazuki, I'm sure she could have given me another talking to. Victory is secured only through the steady accumulation of effort and unflagging attention to minor precautions. Or whatever. I was pretty sure she'd already told me something very similar, in fact. I had actually been making something of a habit of jotting down Kazuki's words of advice over the days we'd spent together. Do your utmost to avoid placing yourself in a position where you'll be forced to rely on chance. When the time comes to use a card, play it without hesitation. Betray before you're betrayed. Once someone has betrayed you, never trust them again. Don't let anyone realize you don't trust them. Remember to chew your milk before you swallow. Not that I really understood most of them. Especially the last one there. Chew your milk? Some kind of metaphor, maybe? Well, whatever.
私も混ぜてもらっていいですか？
それは構わないけど、何かかけるものを持ってる？
チョコレートがありますけど。へ
え、君、まだそんなものを隠し持ってたのか？
いえ、別に隠していたわけじゃ。それに、これは和樹が持っていたものです。
風見が？あいつ、甘いものなんて興味なさそうな顔してるけど、こんなものを持っていたのは意外だね。
I couldn't deny it seemed a little out of character for Kazuki to be carrying chocolate around. That said, at this point, I really wouldn't have been surprised if she pulled a pigeon out of a hat. She was clearly capable of anything.
何にせよ、チョコレートは大歓迎だ。座りなよ。
はい。
What should we do next? What's gonna become of us? How long before we can go home? Immediately after the fall, every word coming out of our mouths boiled down to a variation of one of those 3 sentences. But as of that morning, the litany of unanswerable questions had finally trickled to a halt. By our 4th day in the valley, we'd started to adapt psychologically. Harsh as our environment was, we had our tents to shield us from the elements, and our sleeping bags to keep us warm at night. As we began to find comfort in such things, we were gradually growing calmer. With the provisions distributed on the first day gone, and our daily rations reduced to a bird's helping of rice, it was only natural that the topic of our conversations shifted from such vague anxieties to the concrete topic of food. While studying the cards she'd been dealt, Kaneda-senpai muttered those words to no one in particular, like some kind of prayer. Her love for dairy was well known to the team. When practice ended and the freshmen took orders from their obligatory snack run to the nearby convenience store, she'd always request something cheesy.
ないものは仕方がないだろ。
分かっちゃいますけど、先輩だって甘いものが食べたいって言ってたじゃないですか。
Well, we just dropped a chocolate bar in your lap, so...
甘いものは実際にあるじゃないか。キャンディーにガムにプレッツェル。それに見なよ。アマネがチョコレートを持っている。まさにカモネギじゃないか。
確かにチョコは魅力的ですよね。一番甘いですし。
Very true. The hell? Sorry, just something kind of came up for my work. Ah! Okay. Cool. Cool. Discounted stuff in the entire complex. I'll take that. Cool. I'll take a 30% discount.
Three sets of eyes focused intensely on my bar of chocolate. It felt almost like they weren't seeing anything else. For a moment, I physically cringed. If all three of them were to pounce at once, I would have been completely unable to defend myself. As I bit my lower lip and swallowed nervously, Sakuma glanced up and abruptly burst into laughter.
心配ないさ。大丈夫だよ。確かにここ最近苦くて渋い草ばっかり食べてるせいで甘いものに飢えているのは間違いないけど、たかがチョコレートで喧嘩を始めるほど私たちも子供ではないからね。
ですよね。もしこの場に小沢先輩がいたら、それも保証の限りではないですけどね。
As she spoke, Ibuki discarded a pair of cards from her hand. True enough, Ozawa wouldn't have handled this situation well. Her juniors hadn't called her the devourer demon behind her back for nothing. Insensitive as it seemed, I couldn't help but think her instant death in the bus crash had at least spared her from otherwise inevitable agony. Perhaps she'd been lucky, in a way.
そういえばさ、小沢ちんのバッグどうなったの？
バッグ？
ほらあの子、いつもバッグの中にぎっしりとお菓子を隠してたでしょ。あのバッグがあれば私たちしばらく甘いものに困らないんじゃない？
How much you want to bet the captain took it and is keeping it to herself?
先輩たちの私物はバスから回収した後、全部先
Oh,
生に預
or
けました
Mr.
け
Ochi
ど。
did.
ということはやっぱり部長が管理してるってことか。
Just then, I glanced absent-mindedly at the chocolate bar in my hand and did a bit of a double take. Come to think of it, Kazuki was the one who retrieved Ozawa-senpai's belongings from the bus. Could this possibly be something Kazuki secretly swiped from the bag?
どうしたアマネ、君の番だよ。
ごめんなさい。
Instinctively apologizing for no particular reason, I pulled the furthest card on the right from Sakuma's hand. She chuckled softly. I'd taken the worst possible card off her hands. The Joker. If it's with you at the very end, you've lost the game. For a moment, the smirking clown stared back at me from the cheap, laminated playing card seemed to be wearing Kazuki's face.
結局のところさ、食料を全部管理しているのは部長と小出のペアでしょ。彼女ら自分たちだけお腹いっぱい食べてるなんてことはないよね。
From the cards I offered her, Kaneda pulled out the 8 of spades.
それはないと信じたいね。坂下はああ見えて責任感は人一倍強いし、自分だけ楽をしようとは思わないタイプだよ。
そうでしょうか。
Ibuki pulled a card from Kaneda's hand, then discarded a newly formed pair onto the central pile. By this point, she had only 4 cards remaining.
坂下部長は責任感が強いというか、自分以外の場所に責任を転嫁するのが上手なだけですよ。私、あの部長苦手です。
出たよ。またブッキーの苦手ですだ。君はそうやって何でも嫌ってみるんだね。
They're giving these characters actual character. But we know they're gonna die anyway, so that just kind of makes it worse. It's like, alright, we're getting to know these people a little bit, only for them to end up dying. We know they're gonna die, so this kind of hurts a little more.
As Sakuma-senpai leaned over toward her, Ibuki's cheeks flushed slightly red. She thrust out her remaining 4 cards in front of her roommate's face, as if trying to keep her at bay.
そうやって簡単に信じてしまう方が善人なんですか？私は善人なんて嫌です。騙されて利用されて、それでもよかった、病気の子供はいなかったんだなんて言えるほど、私は聖人じゃありません。
そういうとこかわいいな、ブッキーは。そろそろ髪切った方がいいね。前髪を切ればもっと可愛くなる。
Oh my god. They're just flirting right now.
余計なお世話です。私は好きでこの髪型にして、もう触らないで。
イチャつくのは二人きりの時にしてもらっていいですか？
Wrinkling her brow as if trying to hold back an imminent sneeze, Kaneda flapped her hand in the air in a signal to get on with the game already.
うちのペアは小森が飼ってる犬がいるから余計な食いぶちが増える分食料の減りが早いんだよね。あの犬っころ生意気に雑草なんか嫌だって全然食べないし。
あ、そういえば犬って肉食なんじゃないんですか？
雑食なんじゃないかな。
うちの近所の犬なんか散歩の途中で道端に生えてる雑草とかむしゃむしゃ食べて
The
るの見る
dogs
よ
will just fucking eat anything, whether it's good for them or not. They just eat anything.
あ、それなんだっけ？肉ばっかり食べていると胸焼けするから食べるんじゃなかったっけ？
でも今朝だって配給の玉ねぎ食べさせようとしたけど完全にそっぽ向いて見向きもしなかったよ。
I feed my dog lamb and rice kibble. She likes it. She's good. And well, it's not the best thing. We also kind of give her little things here and there too. Just kind of like, yeah, we definitely give her food she's not supposed to have, but I mean, it's not too much. We've done it with all of our dogs. And they've lived long and happy lives, so they've only died because of like old age and pre-existing health conditions. Like my last dog, Nike. He had a heart murmur that we didn't know about. And it was just so bad that him literally eating was just too much for him. Like, just trying to eat was using more energy. Oh. I miss him. I was in Japan when they said they had to put him down. Sorry. Still hard to talk about him. It's been a few years, but it's still hard. But I got Ruby now. I love her to bits. God damn it. I know talking about him does this. I still talk about him anyway.
犬に玉ねぎ食べさせちゃダメですよ。犬に玉ねぎを食べさせると貧血を起こすって言うじゃないですか。
え、そうなの？
チョコレートもダメだって言うよね。
Chocolate will kill a dog.
それこそ犬に食べさせるぐらいなら自分で食べますよ。
あー、まあね。私も小森に同じようなこと言ったらさ、なんか責任感じたみたいで。犬が食べられそうなもの探すって、今日も朝からずっと山の中を歩き回ってるよ。
へえ、トリュフでも見つけてくるんですかね。
あれ？トリュフは豚が探すんじゃなかった？
You don't need a pig to find truffles.
何にせよ犬だけじゃなくて私たちの食べるものが問題ですよね。このまま雑草ばっかり食べててもそう長くは持ちませんよ。
Having waited 3 days, we could hold out another 7. That was Kazuki's estimate. We'd stay here for another week, sipping on weed soup. If our rescuers hadn't arrived by then, we'd have no choice but to go get help ourselves. Most likely, the captain was preserving a stock of food for that purpose. But when I said as much, Kaneda scowled dubiously.
でもさ、救助を呼びに行くってどうやって？
As she spoke, Kaneda scratched irritably at the bandage wrapped around her forehead. The wound underneath must have been growing itchy in the humidity.
誰か一人代表者を決めてその人に水と食料を託して山を降りてもらうんです。
降りられるならとっくにそうしてるでしょうが。こんな道もないような山、どうやって降りるのよ。どっちに進めばいいのかすらわからないのに。
Again, it's notoriously hard to go straight in a forest. You will get turned around and get lost.
だから部長と先生はそれを調べるために今も山に入っているんじゃないですか。
責任者の自主的な行動って言えば聞こえはいいけどさ、それって無駄に食料を減らしてるだけじゃん。いっそのこと全員で別々の方向に山を降りればいいんだよ。
だからそれは。
We didn't have nearly enough provisions for a gamble like that, and we couldn't just abandon the wounded. There was only one practical plan. Endure as long as we could on these meager rations, claw open a path through the wilderness that trapped us here, hope all the while for the arrival of our rescuers. And then, once our investigations yielded something in the way of landmarks, send off a representative with 3 days' worth of food. When another 3 days passed, we could send off a second representative. By following the signs the first one left to mark the surest trail, they should make it further down the mountain. Lashing one short stick to the next, slowly but surely, we would draw closer to our objective. This was an idea that had grown out of Kazuki's theoretical digital communication plan. If we could repeat this often enough, in theory, we would eventually be able to escape. But there were no guarantees, and I found myself hesitant to explain.
喧嘩はやめましょうよ。それこそ無駄にお腹が減るだけじゃないですか。
喧嘩なんてしてないじゃん。話し合ってるだけだよ。
だったらその無駄にイライラした口調やめてもらっていいですか。アマネに八つ当たりしたって仕方がないでしょう。
私がいつ八つ当たりしたってのよ。
You're snarling right now.
金田、それに息吹もその辺にしときなよ。
I've often heard that a calcium deficiency makes you prone to fits of irritability, but at that moment, although all of our diets were badly unbalanced, the main cause of our crankiness was clearly the constant gnawing hunger we all shared. It's easy to be polite on a full stomach, as they say.
Yeah, everyone's hangry right now. They're hangry. I've been hangry.
In the end, we kept up our game of cards until Captain Sakashida and Mr. Oshi returned from their expedition. I finished with a so-so record of 3 defeats and 4 victories. In exchange for 3 of the 12 blocks of chocolate from my bar, I obtained 4 pieces of soft candy wrapped in aluminum foil. Against the contrast of my dirty palm and muddy fingernails, these spoils of war looked irresistibly beautiful. I brought one to my nose and inhaled deeply. At the bittersweet scent of strawberry wafting through the wrapper, my mouth was instantly overflowing with drool. There were 4 candies in my palm. If I popped one in my mouth right now, nobody would ever know. I wouldn't even be at a net loss to my group. I would have lost 3 small pieces of chocolate and brought back 3 comparable chunks of sugar. Chunks of sugar. Blah, blah, blah. As my thoughts raced unbidden through these calculations, I swallowed the spit in my mouth. But as it slid lukewarm down my throat, I came to my senses with a guilty jolt. It would be dishonest, unfair, cowardly to eat one now. Nothing less than a betrayal of Kazuki. And once I betrayed her, I would probably continue to do so. That was a line I couldn't cross.
何か悩み事？アマネ。どうかした？
ツッキ、あなた分かってて私をいじめているの？
何のこと？全然わからないわ。
It really seemed like a deliberately timed appearance on her part. But even if it was a coincidence, Kazuki's luck to appear at the exact moment would have been frightening in its own right. After one long, deep breath, I jerked my head down in a bow of apology.
ごめん、和樹。私今、和樹に内緒でつまみ食いしようか悩んでた。
あら正直、そんなの黙っていればわからないのに。
わからないからこそ汚い行為なんだよ。
I held out the soft candies I'd won in the game and the remains of the chocolate bar to Kazuki. Cupping her hands gently over mine to receive them, Kazuki flashed me a satisfied smile.
大丈夫よ。それができないあなただから、私はあなたに全てを任せたのだから。はい、あーんしなさい。あーん。
Kazuki deftly unwrapped one of the candies she's received from me, then plopped the small white pillow into my half-open mouth.
おいしい？
The candy was unbelievably sweet to my tongue. My entire mouth was instantly flooded with the taste of sugar, and the next moment it felt as though that vibrant sweetness was seeping into my veins and spreading throughout my body. That single piece of candy was so delicious, I was actually trembling.
Damn, getting weak at the knees for a little piece of candy.
Kazuki watched affectionately as I rolled my eyes up in bliss and swirled the candy clumsily around in my mouth. Then popped another of the candies into her own mouth. Oh my god.
Okay, Amane, yes, I get it. It's been a little bit since you candy. I would say take a cold shower, but you don't have one of those out here.
And with the words, "Goodness, it really is tasty," smiled in pleasure.
でも、こういった熱量食は一人でこっそりと食べた方が美味しいのかもしれないわね。
どうして？
私の弟がそうだったの。変に禁欲的というか、好きなものをあげてもあまり喜ばないし、後で一人で隠れてこっそり食べるの。どうしてって聞けば、下手に喜ぶと誰かに取り上げられるかもしれないし、一人の方が落ち着くっていうのよね。人間は喜んでいる瞬間が一番無防備だということをすでにあの年齢で知っているのだから、さすがは私の弟ね。そういう卑屈に歪んでいるところもすごく可愛いわ。
なんだかわかるようなわからないような。
理解しない方が幸せよ。特に家族に対してすら不器用にしか生きられない人間はね。
Family. That brief word resonated painfully inside me. It felt as though an icicle had unexpectedly pierced my chest to the core. What were my parents doing right now? Worrying about their missing daughter? It was a little past 5 o'clock. Normally, I would have been heading home from after-school practice right about that time. I tended to come home a little hungry from practice. The refrigerator would be packed full of sweet drinks. On the kitchen table, more snacks than I could possibly need were always waiting for me. After a satisfying snack, I could head to the bathroom and take a long, luxurious soak in steaming hot water. Then cool down with a cup of cold milk, idly distorting my voice in the electric fan while my mother prepared dinner.
Okay, that's kind of adorable.
Without even asking, my parents offered me more food than I could eat. I accepted it without a second thought, often without even a word of thanks. That stupid, ungrateful ignorance filled me with bitter shame. But at the same time, comparing myself then to the filthy, frightened girl who just quivered ecstatically over a single piece of candy, I couldn't repress a surge of miserable self-pity.
Amane's dad. I missed my dog. I missed my... Wow, I immediately call her a fucking dog. Jesus Christ. I missed my kid. Can we get a dog? I can't fucking speak, man.
あまね、どうして泣くの？
泣いてないよ。
Smooth. Yeah, I'm a smooth operator. Let me just, pop the collar. Yeah. Yeah, I'm cool. No, I'm not. I'm not cool.
周りを見てごらんなさい。
As instructed, I looked around the area, only to find it deserted.
今はあなたと私しかいないわ。
Amane's a thought. Thank you, Nick. God damn it. Still not the worst misspeak I've heard on someone's stream. I've heard one much, much worse.
There's no need to hold back. The instant those words left her mouth, I felt the tear glands swell up in the corners of my eyes. My self-restraint crumbled like sand, and I burst into violent sobs. Crying wasn't going to fix anything. Nobody was going to swoop down and rescue me. No matter how much I grieved over my own powerlessness and ignorance, there was no do-overs to be had. What was done couldn't be undone.
帰りたい。私、帰りたいよ、和樹。
Hiding my twisted, wretched expression behind the palm of my hand, I crumbled to my knees on the spot. Without a word, Kazuki drew near, wrapped her arms around my head, and hugged me against her slender stomach. Pathetic. Utterly pathetic. When I was still a child, there was a girl among the neighborhood kids who'd break into tears at the slightest thing. I remember thinking of her as a nuisance. A stupid, useless crybaby. If I weep, somebody will come help me. Somebody will take pity on me and solve my problems for me. The transparent self-interest behind her actions was just as irritating as the blubbering itself. And now, I'd become just such a worthless, moaning crybaby, rubbing my runny nose against the belly of a girl considerably smaller than me, sobbing into her skirt.
ごめん、和樹。ごめんね。許して。
I mean, you know what? I'm surprised she didn't break down sooner. 4 days. 4 days and she finally broke down. You can only keep it up for so long.
いいのよ、大丈夫。今すぐってわけにはいかないけれど、いつか必ず私があなたを家に帰してあげる。約束するわ。
This is also really nice CG. Like, this is really nice. And I guess this is showing more of the sweet side, sweet and caring side of Kazuki.
As she spoke, Kazuki took one arm from around my head and began to softly stroke my hair. My family wasn't with me. There was no way such a pointless, clingy little breakdown could have been anything but irritating to anyone in this place. They were all suffering just the same. But even so, Kazuki didn't push me aside. She held me gently in her arms and accepted it all, offering me soothing, hopeful words. That kindness was painful in its own right, but at the same time, it felt like an irreplaceably precious gift.
和樹は辛くないの？帰りたくないの？
Turning my face up from Kazuki's belly, I met her gaze with watery eyes and mumbled a distinctly childish question. She gave a little laugh, her stomach shaking lightly against me, and answered, "Don't worry about me. I'm a genius."
帰りたいかと聞かれれば、それはもちろん帰りたいわ。私がいないうちに弟が両親にいじめられてやしないかと思うと気が気じゃないわ。
Closing a single eye, Kazuki furrowed her brow and pursed her lips.
こんなことになるのなら、小森さんが犬をそうしたように、私も弟をバッグに詰めて内緒で連れ込んでしまえばよかった。失敗したわね。
No, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have worked out too well for you. With one final loud sniffle, I found my sobs had given way to a small burst of laughter.
天才でも失敗するんだ。
もちろん天才だって失敗はするわ。失敗を失敗で終わらせない人を天才というのよ。そしてそれに一生気がつかない人を凡人と呼ぶの。
天才も楽じゃないね。
私の苦労を思いばかる余裕が出たのなら、そろそろ泣き止んでいただける？大の男を腹で泣かせることができれば女として一人前だとは言うけれど、あなたは女の子だしね。そろそろ鬱陶しいかも。
Just making a joke out of it to lighten the mood for her. Okay.
優しくないな、和樹は。
Laughter is good medicine. What the fuck is the name of the Twitch clip here? A talented popular mom vote nay. What the hell? What is with Twitch's like URLs for clips? They're so weird.
それは心外だわ。私だってできることならあなたが泣き疲れて眠ってしまうまでベッドで絵本でも読んであげたいけれど、ここにはベッドも絵本もないのだから仕方がないでしょ。
ごめんね、多分もう大丈夫だから。なんだろうね、自分でもなんで急に泣いたのかわからないよ。
That happens.
流した涙はきっちりと舐めておきなさい。貴重な塩分がもったいないわ。
Oh my
それ
god.
と
Kazuki reached out, took my hand, and dropped all the remaining candy and chocolate onto my palm.
これはあなたに預けます。即効性の高い熱量食は貴重よ。私がいいと言うまで手をつけずに保管すること。いい？
わかった。
If Kazuki was entrusting me with such important provisions, it was clear she genuinely trusted me. I absolutely couldn't betray that trust. Biting my lower lip at this heavy sense of responsibility, I stared intently at the chocolate in my hand. Watching my reaction, Kazuki sighed slowly through her nose.
生真面目なのはいいけれど、責任と責任感を履き違えないことね。そうやって何でも我慢して耐えちゃう子は弟を見ているようで切なくなるし、そんな子は長生きはできないわよ。
責任と責任感って何が違うの？
負うべきものが責任、 追わなくていいものまで追いたがるのが責任感。その境目を見失わないように。
よくわからないけど、わかったふりだけしておくよ。
I don't get it. But I don't need to get it either. If Kazuki says so, that's the way it is. I was aware I'd taken the easy path in letting someone else think for me. But honestly, I didn't really care anymore. A clumsy idiot who tries to take a heavy burden on their shoulders won't achieve anything but catastrophic failure. I understood that just fine, even before Kazuki drove the point home. For that very reason, I decided to obey her orders without a second thought. Kazuki told me I couldn't eat that candy without her permission, so I would sit on my haunches slobbering like a dog until she spoke the magic words. If permission never came, I'd wait out the years and carry them to my grave. In this situation, where nothing seemed certain except uncertainty, the one and only thing I had come to believe in was Kazumi Kazuki. I kept the thought to myself, since I was well aware she'd only offer another sarcastic, "Might she be mistaking me for God?" in response. But at this point, I would probably have answered, "Huh? You're not?" That was what Kazumi Kazuki had become for me.
Became a god, huh? Oh, fuck. Day 5? 5? Day 5. I'm gonna save at the start of each day.
セーブしちゃう？
Holy hell, these are actually... Okay, so it seems like... Minus some talking, it takes about an hour for each day. Alright. How many fucking days are we gonna be here? 'Cause this is a lot of days. Stretchy stretch. 5 days later.
The 5th day in the valley. Let's begin from the conclusion. Today, it rained all day long. To be honest, I had no idea rain could be this unpleasant. The constant drumming of water against the tent was unexpectedly loud, enough to make conversation difficult, and the light entering the tent was far dimmer than usual. Thanks to my strong astigmatism, everything seemed fuzzy and indistinct, so it was extremely difficult to do much of anything. But the bigger problem was the rainwater that oozed up from the ground beneath us and the damp chill it brought. This morning, I woke up to a real double whammy. The psychological jolt of emerging from a familiar nightmare, and the physical pain of a throbbing headache. I'd piled 2 mats under my sleeping bag last night, but when I came to, I was soaking wet. My body temperature had fallen as I slept, and the chilled blood running through my veins had numbed the blood vessels in my brain.
Damn.
Even after waking, my calorie-starved body struggled to warm itself. My teeth chattered uncontrollably in my mouth, and I stared reproachfully up through the tent at the merciless sky.
寒いよ、カズキ。
Snuggle up for body warmth.
Changing out of my wet clothes might have helped matters somewhat, if my spare outfit hadn't been soaked through as well. I hit on the idea of a hot drink after a few minutes, but it was pouring outside the tent. Starting a fire would have been difficult, and more importantly, the fierce sound of rain striking against the canvas had thoroughly drained me of the willpower to even poke my head outside.
玉ねぎちゃん、 もう一杯飲む？
Apparently unable to just sit back and watch, Kazuki had ventured out into the midst of the downpour for my sake, bringing back boiling water for our onion skin extract beverage. The stuff was never really worthy of the name tea, but by now we'd let those same skins seep so many times it was little more than faintly yellow water. Of course, I was plenty happy to have even that, and Kazuki's act of mercy contrasted so strongly with my own cowardice that I felt about ready to cry with gratitude. But when I glanced over at her sitting there, her wet hair matted like a stray dog's coat, I couldn't exactly fire off a casual, "Sure, a refill would be nice." My hands still gripping the empty cup, I slowly shook my head.
ひどい雨だね。
明け方近くに大きな雷が何度も落ちたのに、あなた全然目を覚まさなかったわね。
なんか大きな音がしてるなとは思ったけど。
Even when the roars jolted me awake for a moment, my listlessness quickly overwhelmed me again, and I simply didn't have the energy to wake up that early. Immediately after the fall, I'd been unable to sleep through the night. As I dozed lightly with frequent interruptions, the morning often seemed to sneak up on me before I knew it. But lately, that had changed dramatically. Once I managed to doze off, it was very difficult to wake up. More and more, falling asleep felt like sinking into a thick bed of mud.
That's a hell of a description.
疲れてるのかな。
肉体的というよりは精神的な疲労が濃いのでしょうね。それと単純に環境に慣れ始めたのが原因ね。
It's an actual phenomenon that if you sleep somewhere unfamiliar, you're not going to actually sleep well for at least a few days. Because you're not used to it. Your body is just kind of unconsciously on guard and nervous. Wake up at the slightest thing, because again, it's an unfamiliar place. It's one of those literal primal instincts that is still kind of ingrained in our actual nature.
過酷な環境に慣れないうちは寝ている間に記憶の整理を行いながらも周囲の状況に警戒を怠らないから小さな物音でも目を覚ましてしまうのよ。
That sounded plausible, now that she mentioned it. The first few days sleeping in the tent, the stirring of a neighbor next door would be enough to jerk me awake, and my eyes would open automatically at the first light of dawn. In that respect, Kazumi Kazuki was an ideal teammate. Once asleep, she'd lie so still in her bag, I sometimes half worried she'd suddenly died in there. I never once heard her snore or grunt in her sleep. Lately, Kazuki had been sleeping on a very regular schedule. We'd start preparations for dinner at 6:30 p.m. and finish our meal by 7. Or what passed for a meal at this point, at least. By 8, I'd noticed her stifling small yawns, and around 9, she'd come out and declare herself sleepy. At 10, she would crawl into our tent, cheerfully spread out her sleeping bag, take off her uniform, and leave it neatly folded at her bedside. And the instant her head hit the rucksack she used for a pillow, she'd exhale noisily just once and go silent. Within 10 seconds, I'd hear the soft, regular breathing that indicated she'd fallen asleep. Of course, I couldn't flip the switch to sleep mode quite so easily, or on such a predictable schedule. My conversational partner lost, I'd had very little to do with myself late at night. So, until I managed to fall asleep, I'd stave off boredom by staring at Kazuki's sleeping face. Okay, that's creepy. Just watching her sleep. That's really creepy, Amane. Holy fuck. After a few minutes in dreamland, she'd occasionally make faces in her sleep. Most often, furrowing her brow in a caricature of troubled thought. Sometimes smiling dopily at nothing in particular.
ねえ、和樹って夢を見たりするの？
そうね。看護師さんとかお花屋さんとかケーキ屋さんなんて素敵ね。
そういう話じゃなくてさ。
And in the first place, what's with the half-assed attempt at pretending you're some run-of-the-mill girl with cutesy little dreams? Forget being a nurse, you'd be much better suited to the role of a black market surgeon with a tattered old doctor's robe. Florist? Cupcake peddler? Try con artist. Maybe the founder of some sketchy cult?
ああ、夢って睡眠時に見る方の話？それならもちろん見るわよ。
どんな夢？
今日見たのは学校に入りたての頃、学食のセルフサービスのシステムがよくわからなくて戸惑った時の夢を見たわ。基本的に過去に経験した記憶の再配置が多いかしら。空を飛んだりするような夢はあまり見ないわね。
そうなんだ。私は最近高いところから落ちる夢をよく見るよ。
I've had dreams of the sort ever since I was a child. Most often, I'm falling from the top of a cliff. As the ground beneath my feet crumbles to nothing and I plunge downward, I stare in quiet composure at the earth far below. My thoughts are oddly calm. Guess I'm gonna land right about there. And as long as I kept that detached perspective, I never seemed to hit the ground. But eventually, it occurs to me that I'm dreaming. In the next moment, I slam into the earth and jerk awake in my bed, my whole body rigid with shock. Hey, Mochi! No, I overslept. It's okay, man. You need sleep. It's all good, How you doing? What might a dream like that signify? Kazuki's answer was briefly, it means you're uneasy. Other than falling, my most common dream was probably of the running variety. What day are we on? This is day 5. Yeah, it's day 5 right now. It's raining all day, so they're stuck inside their tents. This very morning, I had found myself fleeing some vaguely undefined, some vaguely defined but menacing pursuers. A countless number of black shadows hot on my heels. I was pushing my way desperately forward through oily, thick air, dragging my strangely heavy legs along the ground. The illusion was unusually persistent. Even when I realized it was a dream, it kept its hold on me. Just as I began to beg myself to wake up, my eyes had slowly opened to the sensation of that throbbing headache. I turned on my cell phone briefly to check the time. Apparently, it was already past 2 p.m. The rain was still hammering fiercely down. By now, the tent was half submerged in muddy water. There was nothing to do but curl myself up in a heavy, wet uniform, rubbing my arms and trembling from the cold. Although I was doing nothing at all, my stomach was still growling. And although my stomach was growling, it was still raining outside. Thinking of the time it would take to start a cooking fire, I lost all motivation to try.
Yusuke. Yeah, doing alright. How are you doing? Is that all? Ugh. I'm good. You're watching Kamen Rider Gaim? I mean, if there's anyone to rewatch, that one's good. I love Gaim. One of these series I managed to watch all the way through. Mostly because, my attention span. Hey, Baron finally found his people. Hey man, Kamen Rider Gaim is really good. It was directed by Gen Urobuchi, the guy who did Fate Zero, Madoka Magica. So yeah, it had quality writer attached and on board. And it was definitely his cup of tea. It had the Eurobutcher signatures. Let's say that much. It had the Eurobutcher signatures. Deno is still your favorite? Oh yeah, not dissing it, just never got into that stuff. Honestly, I think it's really great, but I can see why people don't think it's not for them. I still think it's pretty good. I mean, the video's already posted in my Discord, but I'm gonna post it here again. Oh crap, open up the wrong thing. I'm still gonna post the link in here again to just a thing from the current Kamen Rider that's happening when he appeared in the last season's like special movie or whatever. Just kind of like, here's supposed to be your little sneak peek at him before his show starts. But his show's been going on for like a month now, and I think the movie like just came out. It's odd. Good old Kamen Rider Geats. I love his design. I love the sound design on it as well. And everything just looks good. Geats gives me furry vibes. Oh, I mean, they're just... all the suits are just based off of animals, at least the helmets are. That's just their thing. He's just got a kitsune mask on his helmet. I do enjoy how you're into it, though. You're always really happy when you talk about that in mech stuff. It's stuff I really enjoy and don't really have any kind of real outlet to talk about it, mostly because my friends aren't super into it that much, and I don't really want to bore them with it all the time, which I know I have in the past. Which again, I want to get the only, like, the Kamen Rider game that got localized over here, Memory of Heroes. Get that for my PlayStation 4 and stream that, because that's an official Kamen Rider game, officially localized and brought over to North America. Like, I love that shit. I love my Henshin heroes, man. It feels like most of the plot is like pointless, so I see why people don't like it. Yeah, I mean, it's more comedic at times with all the Taros. And the literal, like, wimpy pro-tag. That's definitely understandable. Glad we can help you express yourself. Yeah, if you want to see a wimp of a protagonist, look at any scene with Kamen Rider Den-O. The literal main character, he's like a literal, like, shaking... The dude's a pushover. The guy stumbles over his words, just kind of scared of literally everything. He can only fight because he's possessed by literal, like, demons. feel like there's a common writer kind of for everyone out there, in some either design or its theming or just a, I don't know, maybe just you like the specific Japanese actor if you happen to know any. Got a wide variety of themes. I'll say that much. You can have it as simple as vampires to stuff like cars and fruits, ghosts, playing cards, to literally the theme is time and watches and shit. There's a writer out there for everyone in the modern era. The Showa writers, I mean, they're still good, but it's harder to watch now, I think. Mostly because it's very, very old, and finding actual good subs for all of them is also fairly difficult. We don't talk about Ghost. Hey, come on. He had a good gimmick. I like the ghosts of like different historical figures that would drape over his main form and give him different abilities. Like, that was cool. It looked good. But anyway, I digress.
What were the other girls doing right now? I took a quick glance out the entrance of the tent, but there didn't seem to be anyone moving through the downpour. They must have all been quietly enduring the storm in the tents. The steady drumming of the rain was the only sound I could hear, and the cries of the cicadas, so vigorous and persistent when the weather was clear, were utterly gone. So too the eerie shrieks of the unseen birds hidden in the treetops above.
Kazuki?
Suddenly, wanting to hear another human voice, I called Kazuki's name. There was no response. Did she go to sleep? When I looked over, I found Kazuki sitting on her sleeping mat, just as before. But at some point, her eyes had fallen closed.
そうか。2時か。
Every day, Kazuki would take a nap sometime between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. It was never more than a quick 15-minute doze, so the first few times I thought she'd nodded off out of exhaustion. But it happened every day at roughly the same time, so it soon became obvious this little siesta was part of her schedule.
何も座ったまま眠らなくてもいいのに。
No one's gonna complain if you lie down like a normal person. Of course, considering the minor flood we had going on in here, that probably wouldn't be a much more relaxing option at the moment. This was a great problem indeed. We'd have to think up a countermeasure of some sort before it happened again. But the damp floor isn't the only inconvenience brought on by the rain. For one thing, writing in this diary isn't easy when the pages are wet. And unfortunately, I've been in the grips of a much more serious dilemma for a little while now. Probably thanks to that big mug of onion tea this morning, I'm currently enduring a desperate need for a visit to the bathroom. The urge to pee was painfully intense, requiring constant effort to restrain. My pen trembled against the diary pages as I wrote. I surveyed the interior of the tent, but found nothing that might serve as a makeshift umbrella or raincoat. When this rain lets up, I'm going straight to the captain proposing we cobble together an outhouse with a roof. I'm making a special note of that here, so it can't possibly slip my mind.
Okay, wow, day 5 went really fast.
セーブしちゃう？
I wonder if day 6 will be just as quick. Bro, just go pee in a bush. But it's raining! Her thing is she didn't want to pee in the rain. Which, I mean, fair enough. Kamen Rider 01 is probably the most rounded Kamen Rider. Is he the first? Is he the first? I can't remember. I think he was. No, he might have been. Oh, yep, okay, yeah, Kamen Rider 01, the first Reiwa era rider. That's right, I couldn't remember if he was the first or if Geo was. Yeah, it was 01. I don't know, a survival situation like that. I'm pissing and shitting wherever I please. You're a bear, Mochi, come on! Does a bear shit in the woods? Yes. He has some good things in the show and the bad thing. I mean, no show is perfect, in all honesty. No Kamen Rider show is perfect in any way. Looking at you, Kamen Rider Fies! You got a lot of problems. But I still love you. I still love that show. Except for Winnie. He poops in a cave. Oh, bother. Like, I like Kamen Rider 5. I love its design. I like the actual general story of it. But it's got some problems. The main one being no one talks to each other, like actually calls. There's too many misunderstandings and no one tries to sort that shit out. Like, that is 100% a problem. But I still like the show, okay? I still enjoy it. Kamen Rider Kaiza, one of my favorite riders ever, in general. Kamen Rider Delta, one of my favorite designs ever. I fucking spent the money to import the damn belt. The old DX toy, not the CSM, because that costs way too much money. I'm not willing to spend that much money. But I do have the Delta driver. And the Fies driver. Actually, Christ. I've got the fucking case to hold the Fies driver. Like, where's the tabs to hold this thing again at the side? Like, official freaking carrying case to hold your, you know, child's toy. There's just the driver sitting in there in that half. And then as you kind of saw at the bottom half, there's the rest of it. The rest of his arsenal. Except for the watch. I don't have the watch. I have the Fies blaster for his final form. See, okay, I like Fies, okay? I actually had the Kaiser driver and all that stuff, but, Yeah, let's just say I decided to donate that because I was taking it to conventions too much and the belt and stuff, and a lot of the things just kind of kept breaking on it. I'm gonna eventually rebuy that because I do like it. One of these days, I'll do a freaking like show off of all my rider stuff. Maybe even show off the rider figures I have. So I got a lot. I got like all 13 Ryuki riders. I've got all the Gaim fig arts that never came out. I mean, again, on my fucking desk, I have fig arts of Kamen Rider Ixa. I threw on the Proto Ixa helmet because I prefer Proto Ixa to regular Ixa. Just because I like the character more. And also have a thing for prototypes. I don't know, I kind of like the prototypes, how they're unfinished, and if people are using them, they're at a disadvantage, but still able to kind of kick ass. Which is kind of why I liked, at least in Kamen Rider O's, how there was the secondary rider of Kamen Rider Birth, and then there was Kamen Rider Proto Birth, their prototype test version that they still used. It wasn't as powerful as the regular one, but could still do pretty well. It had access to most of the same arsenal, so you kind of had two of the same guys walking around using it as a team. Just one had red markings on it because it was for testing purposes. Not for actual straight-up combat. I like prototype kind of things. So Proto Ixa, Proto Birth, Proto Drive. I'm sure there's a few other prototypes somewhere that I'm forgetting about. Proto Birth was bad, but my boy was destroying greeds left and right. Dude! He's not gonna give up. It took his driver literally being destroyed in a movie to finally put Proto Birth down, that he could no longer appear. Then he just got the regular Birth driver fixed, and his partner who was Birth got an upgraded version of the driver with a stronger form. So they both traded up. Yeah, one day I'll probably just kind of show off crap I've got. One day. Debating whether or not I should continue this for today. I'm going a little longer than usual. Maybe I'll get lucky and the 6th day will be just as short. So yeah, we'll go, I'll see how long the 6th day goes, and I might end it there. Because sometimes these scenes are really fucking short. But other times, they can be really fucking long.
The 6th day in the valley. After a full day of unrelenting rain, we woke up to a blessedly clear morning.
You've been going pretty long already? Yeah, I have 2.5 hours today, but I went from day 3 to now I'm on day 6. In the same amount of time yesterday it took me to get through the second half of day 2.
Our life here has begun to assume something of a rhythm. Initially, our mornings were a bit chaotic, with people crawling out of their tents at random times. But recently, everyone's been waking up at 6 a.m. at the latest. Although it would be more accurate to say they've been forcibly woken up. Naturally, the one beating the stragglers out of bed is none other than my partner, Kazumi Kazuki.
It's all good, Mochi. It's all good. I'm starting to get used to going for about 3 hours now, rather than my usual 2, so it's all good. Don't worry, I know my limits.
Of course, that doesn't mean she literally goes around thrashing them. That would be much too inefficient. The recipient of her violence is the bottom of an anodized aluminum cooking pot. 15 minutes before 6 a.m. wake-up call.
Oh god, I didn't expect that.
Kazuki dangled the pot in question from a tree branch and began wailing on the metal surface with a wooden sword she nicknamed the Punishment Rod, producing a piercing series of clangs.
総員起こし15分前
Then shouted a wake-up call in full military style. What's the deal with that punishment rod anyway? Sadly, it's nothing more than a crude wooden sword we'd use to split watermelons as part of our recreational activities at the camp. And when someone as tiny as Kazuki brandishes it around, it looks less like a weapon and more like a prop for some corny slapstick routine. 10 minutes after that initial wake-up came the signal for folding hammocks. Apparently, we're on an old-fashioned battleship now? After 5 minutes to roll up our sleeping bag and mat, the pot received another vigorous thrashing for the 6 a.m. muster. All hands lined up in front of the tents for roll call.
Things drop.
Obviously, this is all pretty annoying, and at first there were a lot of complaints. But when forcefully informed that fixing a regular schedule of activity in order to reset your body's internal clock is a fundamental basis of a sound health maintenance plan, nobody had enough of a counter-argument to voice open objections. God damn it. And so, every morning, the entire group gathers obediently and aligned for the daily physical. Or, as the seniors refer to it behind our backs, Professor Kazumi's tour of inspection.
Bro, I'm choking someone out if they wake me up at 6 a.m. Get used to it, man. I got used to it for a while. I was at a summer camp run essentially by the military. I was staffed there for a good old, 7 weeks. Woken up every day to revelry. Every day. I'm pretty sure it was 6 a.m. I don't know, they wanted us to have 8 hours of sleep, and I believe we had to have everybody in bed for 8. No, 10. Yeah, we had to have everyone in their tents in bed by 10. Lights out. And I was supposed to give them 8 hours of sleep, and I believe 6 a.m. was it. Yeah, I did not have an alarm clock anymore. They wouldn't let me have my phone because the camera was functional on it, so they had to confiscate my phone for the, entirety of that summer I was there. Because I wasn't going to destroy the camera on my fucking flip phone. And I just kind of got naturally used to waking up at just before that would go off. Hell, I would actually sometimes be able to be up a lot earlier and manage to sneak in a shower before everything kind of goes nuts, because we had a lot to do. And I mean a lot. And I also did not go to bed at 10 a.m. like the rest of them, because I was technically considered staff. I'm not technically considered staff, I was staff. So I was up later. Probably didn't help my sleeping habits at all, which they are just out of control now. Well, I mean, I have a wake-up time every day. I woke up 6 a.m. before. You get used to it. Yeah, you do. You slowly get used to it. I managed to make... I don't wake up at 6 a.m. now, but... on the regular every day, my alarm goes off and I am up for 7:30 every day. I might actually consider dropping that down to 7. It used to be at 8. And then I figured, let's just kind of start waking up a little earlier. So, I don't know. Maybe in the new year I'll change my alarm to be 7 o'clock. So I'm up for 7 every day. Would give me more time in the morning to get ready before work and whatnot, and maybe even before stream when I do stream, so I'm not late. Who am I kidding? I'm always gonna be late.
These health checkups amount to little more than a quick interview about any ailments, followed by any words of caution the doctor has to offer. But considering our isolation and general cluelessness, Kazuki's extensive knowledge has become something of a reassuring guidepost for many, so this daily advice is fairly well received, for the most part. As the comparison to an imperious doctor sweeping around their hospital might suggest, Kazuki has a retinue on these rounds. I get no words. I tag along beside her from one patient to the next, taking notes in the memo pad we devoted to medical records. The summary I jot down at the end of the page doesn't change much from day to day. No major problems given the circumstances. To rephrase, everyone's suffering from varying degrees of malnutrition, but they're not about to keel over and die today or tomorrow. After the general inspection, we turn our attention to those suffering external injuries. That is, Kaneda and the cut on her forehead, as well as Sakurai and her lacerated abdomen. We perform what treatment we can, cleaning the crudely stitched wounds with a disinfectant made from wild herbs, then replacing their bandages with ones we'd washed clean and sterilized in boiling water. And finally, we stop by to visit Hiroka-san in the large tent to wipe the sweat from her feverish body. Well, this part's pretty much exclusively my job by now. When the morning rounds are finished at last, I seek out Mr. Ochi and report everyone's health acceptable, while Kazuki heads to Koide-senpai's tent. The daily rations for each individual are being adjusted depending on the severity of their malnutrition symptoms, as diagnosed by Kazuki. The distribution of the day's food, or as Kazuki now refers to it, chow time, is held at 7 a.m. Until then, everyone's supposed to take care of their laundry and air out their bedding. In particular, our sleeping bags have to be thoroughly dried in the sun on a regular basis, or they'll be sprouting clumps of mold before we know it. After passing on the medical report, I return to our tent, grab Kazuki's bedding along with mine, and lay them out on top of the tent to dry. Finally, I head to the stream to take care of our combined laundry, then make my way to the captain's tent with our rice cooker to receive our daily rations. The routine started normally enough this morning, but at this final step, we ran into our first serious breakdown in the process, one that will probably have lingering effects going forward. I arrived slightly early at the captain's tent, where she manages our entire food supply in cooperation with Mr. Ochi and her partner. Koide was waiting inside as usual, but today her face was ghastly pale.
どうしよう。
Something ain't right. Actually,
セーブしちゃう？
I said I was gonna go a little longer, but I kind of got something I want to do today. Get some things done. I got laundry and stuff. I kind of forgot. So I'm actually gonna be cutting it there for now. Gotta love how I say things, then immediately go back on them. Oh well. There's still tomorrow. We still have more Fruit of Grisaia tomorrow. But tonight at around 7 o'clock, we do have a Gunpla and Chill stream, where I will be putting together the high-grade camphor. This one may take a little bit of time, but it's definitely more runners than the last two I did. But it'll be good nonetheless. The camper is an interesting looking suit and has a fuck ton of weapons. So, anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, and lurking. I appreciate it a lot. I hope you all have yourselves a great rest of your day. See you next time.